Hello, guys. Good evening. Good to see everyone on stream. We're gonna finish our Tamiya lunchbox build tonight. Final night of the build. It's yeah, we've done some hard work in it the last couple of nights, and so we're gonna get it all finished tonight, and polished off. No, I'm just kidding. This is a bit of a laugh for Brett, and just a bit of fun because we've got the Hearns have the Vintage Bash coming up in a couple of weeks. So yeah, this one didn't make it across to Melbourne, just the blockhead, but got to bring out the old bit of Tamir from time to time, have a bit of a laugh. So let's get back to where we were, which is our beautiful build of the MD1. So in case you don't know, my name's Soorian. I'm the crew chief for Hearns Driftside. So we're going to have a bit of a look where we got up to. So we'd finished. Well, we'll start with the rear bulkhead. We finished the rear bulkhead off on Monday night. What I've done here is I've built the rear shocks and installed them. We've also installed an ESC, which I've wired up as well because it's just a little bit easier rather than soldering on stream. So that's ready to go in. And we have also polished off the front gearbox on Tuesday night. So this is how the front looks. Have a bit of a look at that steering angle. Looking really, really nice. So that's all done now. Yeah, that's all ready to go in as well. So tonight we are going to finish off the build, finish installing the main chassis, and all the electronics, hopefully, if all goes well. Let me just grab my handy little plate there. So we're going to get all this polished off tonight. So the last part of the build should be a good bit of fun. So if we go back here, we can actually see that we will need one of our braces, which is somewhere around here. If we haven't lost everything. So we're going to get that all polished off. You can actually see these braces are for the next section of our build here, and the spaces there. So where are we? Made such a good stab of putting everything down, I seem to have misplaced one of the parts. So let's get onto this part here of the chassis deck. So you can see there, with that part there, we actually need to build the battery holders. So if we look back here, that is these two. Pop that to the side. We need our 3x10 bolts. We also need some 3x6s. We need some spacers, which is that one and that one. We also need these for the other side. Also need a couple of O-rings, along with our carbon here. So we're going to get these last few pieces ready. So first things first, let's build these holders. So 3x10, carbon first, which is on these ones. O-ring. I'm going to thread lock them because, here we go. And because these are the battery holders, you want it snug, but you don't want it too tight. You still want it to be able to shift. So the thread lock will keep the bolt in place, and that can shift comfortably now without coming too loose. So that's ready. Need to build another one. Beautiful. So those two ready. Now for the underside, we are using the 2.5 countersinks, and they actually go through the bottom of the chassis, through these holes here. They go through here, up there, through the spaces, into our carbon, like that, and then there's these little small nuts that go on top of that to finish it up. So let's do that. Now again, we are going to do a bit of thread locking because I don't want things to come loose. Now this chassis itself will get a run tomorrow night at the Warner Second Perth. Currently the guys are going through a rebranding, so that will actually, all the current details will change in the near future. But it will get a crack tomorrow night, so very keen to see how that goes. So that's the look there of the holders. Actually looks really, really nice. Again, that matte carbon looks absolutely fantastic. Just loving how it all looks together. So let's do the other side now. So that is now our stabilizers. That will hold this battery quite nicely in there. So you can see just how that sits. Now what I want to do with this is add the last part of this. So we're going to add our M3 bolts through here. So these are the bolts that will actually lock that deck in place. Also lock our battery position in place with these spaces. So this last stage of the build shouldn't take very long tonight, to be honest. There's not a huge amount that needs to be done to get all this polished off. Oops, helps if I get the right end of that spacer. If you look at it, the manual, we're currently on page, part 22, which is page 16, which means there is not a lot left to go. So those are in. Let's put the battery holders, which are our 3x6 bolts. So if we look carefully at the two sets, we use the front holes here. that is done. So that is how our battery holder works. And as you can see, that's pretty secure. That's not going anywhere. You can see those spaces here hold everything in place, and the carbon keeps everything really, really, really nice and secure. So even in the event of a high impact crash, which we really hope we don't have, nothing should move around. So that's really positive. Everything's going to be nice and smooth for that part of the build. Cool. That's what I was looking for. Now, I don't normally run the bumpers purely because I run magnetic body mounts. So you can see on here the two magnet mounts up here. Yokomo have actually released some which will mount off the front bumpers and using the rear post as well. I have my own setup that I use because, yeah, us drifters, we're a bit pedantic. We don't like seeing body posts. Good friend of mine, Darwin, who you may well meet later on, very, very heavily used to criticize me for my use of body posts. And let's be honest, they keep the body a bit more securely mounted, but they look terrible in comparison. So let's get this last spacer installed, which is in here. So that is in. So that is the front bulkhead ready to go on. Just take the battery out for now. So if we look, we're going to grab the rear bulkhead and we're going to install this top deck and the associated spacers. So if we look at this, we're actually going to bolt this on from underneath, but first we are going to attach this little bracket here. So this little bracket is going to go on from underneath. Sorry, go from underneath. We're going to lock it down, and then we're going to bolt that in from there to sit in here. So let's have a look at that. It's always exciting to get near to the end of a build. You get a bit sad that all the fun has finished, but the next fun bit is you get to drive it now, which is, I know I and quite a lot of other guys are very, very keen to see how this goes in person and how it all works out. So we are nearly there. Yeah, Brett likes things tight as a tiger. So that's that bracket on. We're going to store that in here from underneath. I mean, that's the advantage of Loctite. You just need to put a little bit of thread lock, make it snug, and the thread lock will do the rest for you. Again, that's something I've learned from having Will Chang as a mentor for a very, very long time. So that's going in place. So that is the plate in place. Now, something I thought was quite interesting is the way this bolts together here. So what happens is there's actually a spacer that locks this in place, and then the bolt goes through all the way through the top here. It goes all the way through this top hole into there. So that's quite interesting. But what we're going to do is we're going to work from the bottom. So we'll start again. So we're going to grab our chassis deck and start working our way through down through here. So you actually have a look here. That looks really, really good. I'm just going to line this all up. Nice and snug in there. You can actually see why the spaces are so tight. I'm just going to go snug. You can actually see everything start to align really, really nicely. So we've got, I'd say, probably about 20 minutes building left. Did anyone have any questions about the build or about our drifting in general? It's a topic that we are going to be really going through a lot more in the future with Hearns, just the whole drift community in general. I know WA is got a decently sized community and is looking to always get bigger. But I know the rest of Australia has some really cool communities. Obviously, I know a fair bit about the Sydney and the Melbourne communities, Gold Coast with Bros Toys is quite a handy one too. So it's good to sort of see where everyone's tuning in from in regards to their own drifting communities and what they're going to go for. So that is our last bolt there for that deck. So that is the entire rear suspension and bulkhead bolted in place now. So now we're going to move along and bolt on the front suspension. So that's all there together now. And we can see ourselves lining up for the last 3 bolts here. But it's been a very interesting build, this one. It's having the car with the floating suspension it is different for me for a touring car. But it looks really, really good. Hey, Wombat. No, I should be able to see. I think both chats don't get seen, but I should be able to see both chats. So I can see Jeff is on Facebook, and then I can also see it. Can see you on Facebook, also on YouTube as well. So that's done. So there we go. That's the bottom decks all done. Now the last bit here is our nice new top decks. You can see there is 2 slightly different ways. So as you can see, there's a little ridge up on that one spot there. So this front one is going to be very interesting, as I have to go under here, under the rack in here to get to that. and then just into there. Let's see. You can see just make it a little bit snug. So it's just into here. And you can see that deck moving just into place there. That's one. Let's do it with the other side. Might just switch the ball driver just for a little bit more easy access. You can actually see how that sits there. And that is going to sit just there. There you go. So, yeah, multiple views on multiple platforms. Won't say no to that. Makes me look a little bit more interesting than I am. But there we go. So that is the front part of the deck. As you can see, they are designed for a bit of flex. So the chassis should have some nice twist and roll without being able to actually bend on its end. So it should twist but not bend. So if you go to that, okay. I'm disappointed then, Will, because you would have missed the lunchbox I got out just for you and Darwin. We both know what he likes to do to lunchboxes. Cool. So that is the decks all done. So that is top deck, bottom deck, and everything bolted together. So if we jump ahead to the final part, we are going to start bolting in our motor, which I have here, one of my favorites, my Yokomo DX1 Type R. I'm a big fan of the R-spec motors, so for RPM, purely because on a polished surface, I like to keep wheel spin down. The torque motors, and this is where I disagree with a couple of other drivers who like a bit of torque. For me, torque induces too much wheel spin and you lose traction off the bottom. And when you're on a slippery surface, you really want as much traction off the bottom as you can get. So I personally am a big fan of the Type R motors. I have a feeling Hearns do have some coming in as well, which is brilliant, which is just what we want. So the way I have planned this chassis wiring, I've actually got my battery leads coming down here, because mine will actually come out through there. And we'll bolt our motor in through here. So just through that. Actually, and that is our that here is our ESC to receiver wire. I'm going to actually put that down there for the time being, and then with these two coming through here, should keep everything nice and snug together. So get this back in there. So yeah, nearly there. That is one bolt. Get the other bolt in. And then we can start looking at our pinion that's going in here. So we need to just check where our motor holes are so we can get our mesh nice and accurate. So a nice bit of free movement there. Now for me, I believe I have to wire this way. On my drift motors, especially if we're sort of traveling or going around different surfaces, I like the 3.5mm bullets on my terminals. Just to keep everything, I can quickly change to whatever I need, because I normally keep at least 1 or 2 spare motors on me. So that is all finished now. Get our sense cable all plugged in like that. So now that this is all sorted, we can actually have a look at our battery fitment again. Look at that, starting to come together really, really nicely. And get our connectors in. So red to red, black to black. Just like that. And that's actually looking quite nice. Just the way I'm looking, I might actually run those underneath just to keep it nice and tight. But honestly, right now, I'm pretty happy the way that's all sitting. So next bit is our electronics installation. So gyro is most important. Got to have the gyro in the right spot, otherwise nothing works nicely. I generally like to put my gyro not too far forward. So for me, I'll actually be mounting mine somewhere around here, and generally my receiver will be on the other side, probably about there. Now you might notice there's an extra cable there. There is a reason for that. That's because I run a magnetic light kit, and this is my connector for it. What it means is that I can just disconnect my light kit and take the body off all in one go. But I'll show you that a little bit later. So you can see here we're getting this all positioned. Yeah, because of the position, obviously you've got to do that. What we're going to do is we'll get it all mounted up tonight, and I'll tie it all up with some cable ties for tomorrow night before the first run. But that's the gyro. Gyro's going to go in here. Find a nice flat spot, so you're having a bit of a look at where to plan everything. Probably going to run the gyro in this direction. So you can see there, it keeps the wires a little bit cleaner, keeps everything a little bit neater and tidy. So let's get this all plugged in. So you can see the cabling there, that plugged in. Now if you look at our receiver, what we might do is we're going to bring this through here. We can tuck all this in through the side. So channel 1 is our plug here. You can see the way everything comes in. Channel 1. ESC is channel 2. And our gyro is channel 3, with making sure that one single wire on the Yokomo MD fault is to the inside there. So that's going to go in here. This will actually come. Again, planning is so important with these electrics. So what I might actually end up doing is putting that there and running that around like that, just to try and keep everything nice and neat. Well, just having a look at another option, even running it underneath, but that could get a little bit messy. So I'll probably end up just tucking it over here, run the cable around there and in nicely over here. So let's get the receiver stuck down. So that is in. Got our cables here. Again, we will make these nice and pretty with some cable ties and heat shrink to get that cleaned up a bit. I'm going to pop our gyro just there. So you can see there everything is nice and cleanly positioned. So this is the Yokomo V4 gyro. It's been around for a while now and worked out really, really well. I have been using one for quite a long time now, and it's turned out quite well. So you can see there how everything sits and is planned out. Get the position a little bit nicer. And it's important to use the gyro tape that's correct. Don't just use straight double-side tape because you need the gyro tape to absorb some impact. So we're going to have a, just pop that there. So what we'll do is we're going to bolt some wheels on. These are some of the lab wheels that I have, just to go on a bit of a favourite shell. But they are quite nice. They are a replica of a work Mikuni wheel, which are possibly some of my favourite real wheels as well. I know a lot of the guys I know will be quite upset with me banging on about them, but yeah, they're my favourite wheel for a reason. Probably one of the big reasons is the low brain drift car. It's in the UK. I'm a massive, massive fan, especially of the car when it was being driven by a certain Australian who was over there driving the real car and competing. And yeah, got a lot of people's noses out of joint. But he was a very, very good driver. Currently lives in Queensland, but he is a very, very good driver and makes things very, very interesting. So can't complain too much. So I get that on. As you can see, we obviously still need a pinion, which is coming soon. But we'll get these wheels bolted on. So you're going to have a bit of a look there. That is almost ready to go now. There's our little pinion. I believe I found a 19, which should be quite nice. Let's just check our mesh is correct. We can always readjust if we need to. Just going to make sure we do have our motor play. And as I suspected, the 19 will be a little bit small, but that's fine. We will grab something a little bit larger. Which is always great to have spare pinions on hand for that exact reason. What do I have here? I have a 21, which should be a little bit closer. I generally like to keep my pinion size, especially on polished concrete, as small as possible. Just, again, keep the wheel speed down to minimize any sort of wheel spin. That looks like that's going to be a touch small as well. So what we're going to do is going to grab something slightly larger. I may in the future change that spur gear from an 80 to something a bit larger, just again to minimize that wheel speed. So give the 21 a crack. The 21 should be very, very close. Who knew fitting a pinion could be such a faff? But that's the whole point. We check all these things before we drive. So you can see as we reposition everything here. Setting our mesh nicely. So that is our car just about ready to drive. So let's grab this out. Grab our trusty radio. Now I run a Futaba 7PX myself. You may have seen this on a live stream with Hearns, about 6-7 months ago. But you get a bit of a look now. There we go. That is all fired up now. As you can see, that steering lock is awesome. Now I have done some endpoint setup already, which makes it a little bit easier. If you haven't done, make sure you do it, because the last thing you want is your gyro endpoints to be incorrect. If you get that wrong, you will cook things very quickly, and things will not be nice. So there you go. That is everything starting to sit in place. Oops. Let's get that seated. And there you go. So what we're going to do is a little bit of a shock adjustment to get everything sitting nicely, but that is looking just about ready to hit the track tomorrow night. I am very, very keen. As you can see, magnet light kit here. Makes things for me a lot easier taking the bodies on and off with drifting. But I am extremely excited to get this running tomorrow night. I can have a bit of a look at it there. That is going to be a lot of fun. So thank you for everyone for staying with the build tonight and the previous nights. We're going to try and get some footage and some photos as well of this car finished and running. So it's going to be a lot of fun the next few days and should provide plenty of content for you guys to just get a bit of a sniff of drifting and see how you can get into the hobby as well if you like, and grab yourself one of these awesome MD1s. Thanks very much, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it and have a great weekend. Take care.